Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into a new episode of Capitol View, a webcast brought to you by the Daily Journal and djournal.com, talking about what's happening in the state capitol. And Bobby Harrison, our Capitol Bureau Chief, of course, is down there to give us the latest of what's transpiring. I'm your host, Brad Locke. Thanks for joining us here for the next few minutes. Again, this webcast comes to you every Monday around 2 p.m. Watch it live or catch the replay later in the day. Bobby, the special session has begun. Let's just dive right in. We've been talking about it for months, I guess. And then finally, at 10 o'clock this morning, the legislature reconvened to pass some budget bills. So what's it been like down there?
Well, it's moving along, Brad. There's nothing really controversial per se on the agenda, but still the Democrats in particular are making the point that these budgets being passed are especially the Attorney General's budget is not what he needs, and they blame the massive tax cuts that's been passed over the past few years, resulting in less revenue. And so there's been that debate's been going on, but in the end, it may take 2 days. They'll pass budgets for the Attorney General's office, the Department of Transportation, the State Aid Road Program, and they're probably going to do some stuff to change some of the structure and the way the budget's done. Nothing major, but just a couple of minor things. The biggest thing they're going to do probably would be increase the maximum that's in the state's rainy day fund from 7.5% of the current year's appropriation to 10%, and so that would put more money in the rainy day fund over a period of years. The debate is, that these budgets are not what they should be, and they're short. The budgets they passed in the regular session, which was most of the state budget, has already resulted in cuts for mental health, Department of Health, and forestry, and many other agencies. And they're saying that that these tax cuts have been passed over the past 4 or 5 years have been have hurt states' revenue, resulting in these massive budget cuts, or at least double-digit percentage-wise budget cuts. And the Democrats in the Senate did a while ago try to postpone the enactment of the big budget, the big tax cut that's coming, that starts to be start being phased in this coming budget year. They were going to try to delay that for a year, but the leadership stopped that effort.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Fortify Act that you alluded to, where they're trying to tweak the actual budgeting process. And I know, Brian, you had the story today about the state senator from Amory who has an issue with that. Bobby, what's his hang up there?
Well, he just says, the governor unveiled that Friday and then called a special session on Monday. He's saying that that's something that that should be debated over a longer period of time and fleshed out before there's actually a vote on it in the legislature. What the Governor Bryant says, the intent of this act is to address some of the concerns of the state, the national rating agencies like Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch, which have sort of given Mississippi bad credit ratings, or at least not giving them bad credit ratings, but those agencies have said that the state's credit rating is not as good as it used to be. And the governor said that these changes, like increasing the amount in the rainy day fund, will help alleviate some of the issues from the rating agencies. But Brad, if you got it there in front of you, the greatest thing to me is what Fortify stands for. They had to work real hard to get to that. I like to call it Operation Fortify, not Fortify Act, but Operation Fortify.
Yeah, you got to be creative sometimes to get these acronyms to work, Bobby. Yeah. This one, Fortify. I had it here. Wrong story. Here it is. Yeah, because I can't remember it, Bobby. I got to look at it. It stands for Financial and Operational Responses that Invigorate Future Years. Financial and operational responses that invigorate future years, as opposed to past years. Can't invigorate the past when it comes to the budget, Bobby. It's done.
That's right. That's right. Plus, it doesn't fit in Fortify.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you're down there. So you're always down there, but the legislators are down there for, like you said, probably looking to be just a couple of days. I mean, we're not expecting any surprises, are we? I mean, you mentioned already what they tried to do as far as the tax cuts, but.
No, there's not going to be any surprises. They're going to pass those, there's 3 budget bills, the Fortify Act, and then they're also and this is real technical, but they passed a law in 2016 that swept these special fund monies into the general fund, but they didn't use the right language in passing that law. So like about $10 million of that money is trapped. So they're passing a bill in the special session also to release that money, as they say, so it can go into the general fund and help shore up at least a little bit the sluggish general fund collections.
Yeah, I am glad to see that Steve Holland is still in mid-session form. Did you see what he did there, Bobby? Were you there for that with the phone call?
Yeah, I was not there. I heard about it. You talking about when he was interrogating Charles, the House Transportation Committee chairman, who was in the well of the House, and apparently his phone rang, and he handed his phone to his desk mate and said, "Here, answer this. It may be a body. He's an undertaker, so he's always doing two jobs at the same time."
Deal with this dead person for me, please. So Representative Holland is always entertaining and passionate. So Bobby, I know there's not a whole lot to talk about yet with this session. We'll be able to wrap it up, put a bow on it next Monday. But let's go ahead and talk about another big issue. It's a continuous issue for the state. Poor revenue collections. They've been bad for a while. We did have a couple of good months there in March and April, but Bobby took a big nosedive in May. Tax collections were about 148 million, or 27.7% below the official estimate. Bobby, so this is not all that surprising, though, is it?
No, but the size is a bit surprising, Brad. The size was pretty staggering, and fortunately, and it's not fortunate that Governor Bryant's had to make all these cuts, but the fact that Governor Bryant's made 4 rounds of cuts already this year will probably prevent him having to do anything else. As long as the revenue for June's the last month of the current fiscal year, and as long as revenue is not about $40 million short of projections for June, then the state budget will be balanced. If it's more than $40 million short, he's got to dip into the rainy day fund to shorten the budget. And he's already made 4 rounds of cuts this year because of the sluggish revenue collections, and it just doesn't seem to end, Brad. The poor revenue collections has been going on for about 2 years now.
Yeah, and it's too late to make any more cuts. With just this being in the final few weeks of the fiscal year, and so if I understand right, Bobby, there's about a $40 million worth of wiggle room, is what you're saying? Yeah,
because of the cuts he's already made, there's about $40 million in wiggle room, but if the revenue projections for June are more than $40 million, the revenue collections for June are more than $40 million below projections, then he'll have to dip into the rainy day fund to balance the budget.
And part of this is the personal income tax collections. They were about almost 50% below projections, Bobby, 142 million. But your story says that's a little bit of a deceiving number.
Yeah, well, what happened, Brad, is in April, if you go back and look at April, income tax collections in April were about $90 million above projections. And what happened was the Department of Revenue was actually competent. The projection was that a lot of that money, personal income tax collections, are due on April 15th. A lot of that money wouldn't be processed until May, but it was all processed in April, which artificially bumped April's numbers way up, but then it also bumped May's numbers way down. So it's kind of, to a happy medium. And when you did that, over a 2-month period, the state still comes out behind.
Yeah. And of course, there's more to the state's financial picture than tax collections, but that's obviously a big part of it. With the new fiscal year coming, Bobby, I know there's going to be a report that's going to be issued by the Legislative Budget Committee later this month, I guess. But are we going to really learn much new there, or kind of confirm what we know?
The state is going to be a little bit. That's going to make the budget picture, the revenue picture, a little bit better, but not a lot. I mean, you mentioned that it's 147, I think, $147 million short for May, but the bigger number is for the year. It's about $156 million short, $157 million short, somewhere around there, and that's why the governor had to make all those cuts, because of revenue collections have been short, practically every month. So
Right.
he's had to make cuts. He started making cuts in late August, I think, and made 3 more rounds after that.
All right, Bobby. Good stuff as always. See if you can get that special session wrapped up by tomorrow, Bobby. Use your influence that I know you have down there.
Yeah. It'll use my influence going all week.
Y'all can catch Bobby's coverage. Y'all can catch Bobby's coverage in the Journal, of course, at djournal.com. Bobby's on Twitter at BobbyHarrison9. Again, this program comes to you every Monday, usually every Monday around 2 p.m. live, or catch the replay later in the day. We'll post it on Facebook as well. Bobby, anything else to add about this session? Anything to look for tomorrow?
No, I just think that it's probably going to go. There was hope to do it in one day, but it's probably going to last 2 days. But
Sure.
It shouldn't go more than 2 days.
All right. Good stuff as always, Bobby. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. And for Bobby Harrison, I'm Brad Locke. We'll see you next time.